So I'm hoping that you can all see my slide. Today we are here to learn about nature cards. This is week 2 of our summer 2022 You and I Together virtual learning series and activity series where all ages can learn. I am Serene Greenway. I am a family and consumer sciences extension educator with the University of Idaho, and I'm in Owyhee County. So thank you so much for joining us here today to learn about those nature cards. Those of you that are joining that are new to our program, we are University of Idaho Extension, and we really strive to be practical education that you can trust. So in 42 of the 44 counties throughout Idaho, we have extension offices that provide relevant, in-time, research-based education for you, your family, and your friends. And so we have a variety of different programs ranging from food production systems, 4-H youth development, horticulture, and small farms. Then we switch into some community development, then some nutrition, health, and wellness. That's an area that I am very passionate about. We also support forestry and natural resources and even water. So depending on your location or the region of the state that you're in, you may have different specialty programs, but overall we have a variety of these throughout our state. And if you've never reached out to your local extension office, we highly encourage you to do so. With that, I'm going to have to stop sharing just for a moment to make sure that I can get the next slide to play the sound. Gets me every time. So with that, I have a quick video that I'm excited for us to all watch right now.
University of Idaho Extension is helping Idahoans care for private and public lands through education to landowners, natural resources.
We may have lost Serene.
I was about to say that. So Serene, oh, there we go. I think she's coming back.
Hey there, I was muted. So sorry about that. I got lost for a minute with the internet glitch. However, I'm hoping you were able to see the end of that video on forestry and just a reminder of all of the different programs that we have in Extension. With that, I would love to introduce myself. I am, as I shared, Serene Greenway. I am a family and consumer sciences extension educator, and I do have an emphasis in food safety and food preservation. I shared with you, I'm really interested in that food, health, and wellness. And so food safety and food preservation and health and nutrition allow me to really focus on that and providing that education to the different communities that I serve in Idaho. I also do some basic financial management, but to give you a quick overview of some of the projects that I've recently focused on, I do have a Master Food Safety Advisor program based out of Owyhee County. So if you're ever interested in volunteering in your community, that's a great way to do so in the food safety realm. I also do a lot of healthy living series. Those are youth programs. We do have some health and nutrition classes for adults. I have done a lot of youth entrepreneurship series. A recent fun one that I have conducted is a Just Grill It program, and many more. Also joined today and helping manage the chat and those questions that may come in is Brad Stokes. He is a crops extension educator based out of Elmore County. And so I'm super glad that Brad is helping me today. And then we also have Amy Robertson, also a family and consumer sciences extension educator located up in Boundary County. And so as we're getting started and we're talking about nature cards today, I would love to launch a poll. So hoping Brad or Amy could maybe launch that to see who's joining us in today's week 2 series of the series. and kind of see who's at each site. Sometimes we only have one participant on the Zoom, but we find out we have a whole group joining together, and that's super fun to see. So if you wouldn't mind, if you could please answer these very quick questions. The first one is, how many adults are attending the program? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or then we do put it into a little range of group numbers. Number 2 of this poll is how many youth are attending the program? That's fine if there's 0 of one of the different options, that's totally fine. Number 3 is this your first time participating in a University of Idaho Extension class, workshop, activity, or event? And number 4, is this your first time participating in the You and I Together series? So we'll give that just a few more seconds. Hopefully everyone has an opportunity to read through those questions and answer them. It's just a really quick click, hopefully. So with that, I am going to go ahead and end this poll. And just to be mindful of everyone's time, we'll skip those results, but thank you so much for answering that. And it is super fun to see everyone joining us today. So with that, just to give you a base outline, what are we going to be covering today? I'm hoping that we can talk about getting to know your outdoors, whatever that may be. Maybe it's in your region of the state. Maybe it's getting to know new outdoors in a different region from where you reside. But I'm hoping that we can talk about how we can do that, whether we are adults or youth, and how we do that safely. Then we're going to be talking about nature cards and what those are. We're also going to discuss some potential materials. And then I'm hoping we can actually get a start to making our nature cards here today. And then at the very end, we're going to touch on what's the purpose of those. And lastly, I'm hoping that you will get out there, not get out of here, but get out there, get out in the outdoors, explore and enjoy. So the first thing I really want to talk about is, do you know your outdoors? And so are you aware of your surroundings? Do you know maybe some hiking trails? I thought some of these pictures were really fun because, sometimes you can see some hills in the distance, but have you ever taken the opportunity to go check them out? Maybe go through on a green belt that you may have in your community and explore that path. I know Brad shared at the top that he's from Elmore County. I know there's a great path that I've explored some different areas in Elmore County in Mountain Home specifically. And so wasn't quite this hiking trail that we see here, but do you know of some options in your region? Are there hiking trails that you already know about? Or is there a way for you to check out a map and look at some new ones? When you are getting ready to get out and explore, maybe you are not wanting to make it intense and make it a hike. Maybe you just want to start in your back door or backyard, and write out your back door. And that is more than okay. What you need to do is establish what is your comfort level, also who you are exploring with. For me, I'm an adult, but I like to do a lot of exploring with youth. And so with that, I need to be very mindful of not only my safety, but the safety of the youth that I am with. And so the first piece to that, whether it is your backyard or whether it is an extreme new hiking trail that you're going to check out for the first time, you want to make sure that you are doing so safely. And that will start with having the right clothing and footwear for the job. So I have friends that wear some sandal type that are intended for hiking, and that suits them very well. But I know that I personally prefer a tennis shoe and a sock. And I know even when we're going through different terrain and my feet may be getting wet, I still have found that I prefer that tennis shoe and sock when I'm out and outside and about, because I can be somewhat clumsy. And when I'm checking out a new trail, I don't want to stub a toe, all because I don't like soggy, wet feet in my tennis shoes. So something to consider when you are going out to explore. If it's your first time on a new trail, probably don't wear those flip-flops. And if you do, be mindful throughout that journey. Another thing is we're entering summer And we've already had maybe a touch, depending on what region we're in, of that summer weather. Some of it has been great, but I don't know where you may be located today, but that right now we've got wind right outside my doors that's passing through, maybe a sprinkling coming our way. But over the weekend, we had puddles. And so even when it is summer, we can have some of these rainstorms or thunderstorms come through. And one, you need to be cautious of that weather, but you should also be prepared for it when it is safe weather to explore. And so as I shared, maybe you have those youth members and they're wearing those rain boots and they're splashing and having a good time. Just make sure you're prepared for that, especially where does it take place on your journey for the day. But if it is that bright summer weather, make sure you have that proper coverage. So maybe it's a hat, maybe it's longer sleeves, and most importantly, maybe it is that sunscreen or sunblock for yourself and the youth that you are traveling or exploring with. And make sure that you are continually applying that. That's the key. Sometimes we put that on at the top of the morning and then we're out, we're exploring, we're packing lunch or a snack and we're, enjoying that. We're perspiring throughout that and wiping away some of that sunblock that is protecting us. So we need to remember that we need to replenish that on our skin for it to be effective. And when you're out there, you can definitely explore, touch, look, lift safely, and peek. And you want to do that with caution because sometimes you could be turning over a rock. I was doing a little exploring just today in preparation of some of the materials I need for my nature cards. And I ended up with a spider on my shoulder. And I thought, oh, my daughter wouldn't like that too much. So when you are the youth or the adult, you do need to be careful as you are turning over and exploring those outdoors, getting to know your surrounding and really getting to experience it. So as I shared, I was out doing some preparation, but ultimately, what are nature cards? And ultimately, it depends on you. What do you want them to be? So I have this fun series of different pictures, and it really depends on what you want to do. Do you want it to be simple? Do you want it to be complex? Do you want your artistic nature to shine through? What are you wanting? I am the first individual to admit I am not very artistic, but that doesn't mean I don't like to explore things and try new things and textures and experiences. I'm just very aware that maybe it doesn't come out looking the way I intended. So if I had a little stick and some little seedling leaves, I don't know that it would come out looking exactly this way, even if I would get all those materials. And that's okay. Maybe instead I'm grabbing some leaves. Not only could I then be painting on those leaves or designing on them, but maybe you have a gorgeous large leaf and you want that to actually be your card itself. As you are looking at nature cards, the world is endless with the possibilities that you have. And part of that can just be going out in nature and exploring and determining, ooh, this looks like something I want to try out. And so these are just some inspiration ideas. By no means are they a requirement of what you need to have to make a nature card. Well, maybe you don't. Maybe you have leaves. Maybe your leaves look different than these ones. Right now we're in summer and I don't have access to a lot of these beautiful, deep autumn tones that I'm seeing here. So maybe I'm focusing more on the greenery and some flowers. With nature cards, they could easily be a dried pressed flower that you are turning into a card. As we see in this example here, it could be as complex and artistic as we see in this design here. It really depends on what you want to make of that. And then lastly, you can even be taking different textures and incorporating that and really focusing not so much on the fact that it's a leaf, a gorgeous leaf that you're turning into this beautiful design or a flower, but instead it's a texture that you're incorporating into an artistic picture that you are designing on your card. It really depends on what you want to do with that and Are you thinking of your recipient in that? Are you thinking of who you want to give this to? And that could play into maybe making more than one different nature card and more than one different design in that. And so when we think of the potential items for nature cards, they vary. And this is just a short list, but items that we could find in nature as we're exploring, we're looking, we're lifting, we're peeking, we're testing out, we're feeling, we have those textures. Those include flowers, leaves, even those sticks, maybe some dirt and soil, with that some grass. What about water? Maybe you would like to try to make some art and paint a little bit with some dirt and soil mixed with water. We call that mud at my house, but my daughter wants that to be art. So something that you can make on your card today. And there's many, many more, but these are just a few different ideas to get you started. Some additional materials, again, not required, but something to get you thinking about it and what you might want to use. You might want to use some paper or cardstock. You might want to start with pencils and pens. More so popular in our house are broken crayons, however, crayons or markers. And so it really depends. What do you have on hand? What can you get started with? And then even glue or tape can be a part of that, especially if you're using sticks. I know that doing this activity, my daughter wanted to use rocks. She quickly found that rocks didn't stick as well, even with glue and tape. But if you wanted to put rocks on there, you would just need to know that you want to have enough adhesive or something to stick so that item will remain on that card. And then lastly, you might want some scissors. So other things that I didn't even mention, you could get a paintbrush, you could be getting watercolor. So definitely a lot of possibilities, especially if you are an artist and you know that you can be very creative and inventive with the pieces at hand. So with that, I told you I was really hoping that today we could get started by making them. And in no means will we maybe have enough time to create the artistic capability that you can do. So instead, maybe we'll just get started. I know that out of the Canyon County, Owyhee County, and Boundary County Extension offices, we have the opportunity for supply kits. And so in those supply kits this week, we gave pieces such as paper, some glue sticks, or tape, just for you to get started with some of the basic materials to then go get those pieces from nature. So I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment so I can share what I have here in front of me today. So in preparing for today, I thought, ooh, this is a nice card stick that will stick really nicely, but you know, I like some different colors. So maybe you can access different colored paper, but I knew that my friend Bradley was going to be on today. And so I thought, you know, I'm going to write Bradley a nature card. And so to get me started, I just took a colored piece of paper. It could easily be a white paper or a piece of cardstock. And I folded that in half. If you want to know which half, this would have been hamburger style. So I just folded that in half. And I even started by writing my friend a message. I thought, you know, it was really warm, then it was cold, then it was warm again, and now it's been windy, and I think it's starting to subdue, and maybe it's warm again. So I think it's very timely with my message of summer is almost here. And then inside, I've started writing my friend a message. So as I shared my messages for my friend Brad, dear Brad, I see the leaves on the trees and I think of my friend who loves bugs. So Bradley focuses a lot on entomology. That is a passion of his, and boy, do we hear about it. And so he even had a little picture on one of the slides with a bug on a leaf. So I've started with a message. Is that where I need to start out? Absolutely not. But I thought, you know, I'm not very creative right off the bat. So maybe if I establish a little bit of a plan for my card, maybe a theme. And so with that, that's how I talked about summer. And then I knew that Brad was joining me here today. And I started thinking about some of the things that I would be wanting to put in my card. And so I told you we're almost in summertime. And so seeing leaves with red isn't super common. They're more green right now, right? As they're gearing up for the summer. But I saw this leaf with some red undertones, and Brad's over there telling me what type of leaf came from my own tree. So I'm super glad that he educated me that this is a Norway maple leaf. But I thought this would go great. I think it could go great on the front of my card if I wanted to do it that way. But because I've already wrote my message, maybe it could be where I tape it up top here, I think. And it could be, so right now, the way that I'm designing it, it's covering up my message. But luckily, my adhesive, or what I'm using to make that stick, is tape. And so I can easily have that hold that leaf down, but it's not plastered the same way glue might. And so I think that's kind of fun that I have a hidden message for my friend. And then as I open it up, and I'm probably going to try to press this. I'll see my friend Bradley in a couple of weeks. Maybe I'll hang on to it and we'll see how it fares. But as I'm opening that, I'm going to press it. And what I mean by pressing is, as an example, here's another leaf. And so instead of having the leaves curled up and plastering it that way, I'm going to flatten those leaves. And that's what I've done underneath. There's a spider that just came out of my leaf. Great. So just be mindful of that when you're with youth, but I'm flattening that leaf and then I can easily be pressing that with my hands. But a great reminder that as you're exploring, there are some beautiful pieces of nature that we can see, we can leave alone and leave them in our habitat. But if we bring them with us, to be mindful and prepared for that, especially in front of youth. And so while I do like this mini leaf that matches the one on the front, I think this is a great design that could get me started on a second different card. You know, Amy is my friend as well, helping out today, and I like to send her messages. And so maybe I'm getting started, and instead of folding this card, I'm going to leave it whole, and I could put my message here, or maybe my message is made with some art. And another thing I did was I picked out a flower. So these are pieces that I was able to acquire at my home, but maybe you don't have some of these flowers. Maybe you have a really rockin' neighbor that you could walk to and ask them if you could pick some of their flowers, because we don't want to go onto other people's property without permission. We also don't want to take without permission. But I am a very, very big fan of pansies. And I know that my friend Amy really likes flowers. And so I thought this could be a great way for me to try pressing some flowers. I don't know how they'll fare, but isn't that part of the experience, is trying it out and see if it works? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think that with Amy's, I'm going to have a flower and a leaf theme, and then I'm going to leave space to send her a personalized message. I too, just as my leaf on the other side of my card to my friend Bradley, I am going to press these. Another key thing with pressing is you do want to apply weight so that when you're pressing, it will flatten it as much as possible. You do want to be careful. You can have a lack of proper drying and then it kind of shrivels, it can get moist. So sometimes you have to let your items dry a little bit before you can start pressing. But knowing Bradley and his love of plants and insects and entomology, I think this bush, let's see if he can recognize what this is, because it's from my house and I also don't know what it is.
Looks like a willow.
It looks like what?
A willow of some type.
It's a shrub. Is there a willow shrub? Well, there you have it. The more I know. So with that, knowing that this card is for Bradley, I'm going to leave it leaf specific. I've done some fun with my flowers for Amy, so I'm going to leave it to my leaf fun for Brad. And I brought a lot of my crayons, and so I think it'd be fun to design. And so I can just get in here with crayons. It doesn't have to be just crayons. I've got markers. And so with that, I can now spend some time, and you know what, why not some pencil work? So, you know, Brad's awesome. He's a big old star in my book because he's a good friend. And so with that, on my own time, I'm going to finish this up. I'm actually going to put down some of my glue stick so that I can press the leaves of my willow shrub so that those will flatten and dry out. And then the next time I see Brad, I can say, hey, I've got a message for you. And I have a hidden surprise. So when we talk about having that exploration of outdoors, maybe you start with your art and you realize, wow, I want to get back out to it. I want to keep exploring and keep finding some great ideas. So I started with some flowers and I wanted to really focus on some leaves. And so by spending just a quick few minutes at my house, I found these great pieces where I could customize different cards for the different friends in my life. And so when we talk about making these nature cards, you may wonder, okay, so what's the purpose of making these? Well, you can personalize your message to someone. It can be extremely unique because, you know, Bradley sure can't go buy that in a store, and neither can I. And if I give that card to Brad today, he knows that I spent time on it, that I actually had a plan. And, you know, I was thinking of him when I was getting my leaves and I encountered bugs in the outdoors. And so I am able to create that personalized message with the artwork that I was creating. It is a great opportunity if you are or are not an artist to explore your creative side. And so it can be a great way to take your mind off some things and just let that creative side blossom for the moment. And it's an opportunity for you to bring the outside inside. I know that I love seeing dried pressed flowers. It's a great way to incorporate some artwork in your home. So it doesn't always have to be a card that you give away. Maybe it's a card that you make for yourself, you know, from your heart to you. And it's also a great way to capture some of those experiences. I shared that my daughter tried to glue some rocks. So she really liked these rocks. So it has shifted to, you know, a display of rocks on her dresser, but you could try to bring in some of those flowers or some of those experiences from your hike. Maybe you're near a beachy place and you're bringing in some sand and you're finding a way to use some adhesive to get that sand on your card. Wouldn't that be fun? So there's so many different ideas, but the key thing that we really want to encourage is for you to get out in nature, explore it, learn from it. But we really want to thank you for joining today.